eyes can't work without power, so it needs power. But sometimes the power can be too much, and then that needs to be dealt with appropriately. Similarly, we can apply that same principle to our speech. So there is a speaker and there is a listener. There is a speaker. And quite often in this context, the speaker may be in a position of authority. The speaker could be a boss, the speaker could be a parent, the speaker could be a mentor or a spiritual guide. So now between the two, there is communication, that is speech. So just like power was going from here, so in this case, speech is going from the speaker to the listener. Now when the speech is going, life is difficult. And we all can't always be at our best behavior every single moment of every single day throughout our life. Sometimes things just get to us and we snap, we may yell, we may scream, we may speak things which we don't mean to speak also. So this happens. So what happens is, as speakers, at this side, at this side, we need some kind of regulator. It is an internal sense of what is appropriate to speak and what is not appropriate to speak. So sometimes some people, it seems they have no filter inside them. It's like the distance between their mind and mouth is zero. So whatever pops up in their mind pops out of their mouth. And it can sometimes be quite embarrassing. See, we all may feel angry at other people. But it is that general aspect of human culture is that we restrain ourselves. We don't just speak out whatever is there in our mind. So this does not mean we should never speak what is in our mind, but there has to be this regulator. What does it do? It basically considers the green color visible here.
Yes.
It considers Desha, Kala, Para. So, like we say that even if you have to, what does Desha mean? You may consider sometimes if you have to chastise someone, somebody has done something wrong, then don't do it in public. Do it in private. So, if you want to correct someone, it is that you want to correct that person, but you don't want to humiliate that person in front of everyone. So, the idea could be that speak in a way. So, I am elaborating here on the principle of Anuduri Dukaramba. That we may have good intentions, and somebody is doing something wrong, we want to help them make a better choice. But if we yell at them or speak harshly to them or point out their mistake, when they are with a group of people among whom they want to be respected, then what happens is they will not feel educated, they will feel humiliated. When people are humiliated, they rarely learn. So, when often publicly people is incorrect, then what happens is people are humiliated. Yet people feel humiliated. And privately, these people feel educated. This is the issue. Then we have to consider Kala also. Kala is the time. Now, it is very important that we consider the appropriate time. Like sometimes some people are in a very happy mood. and maybe something good has happened in their life. They are going through some wonderful situation, some nice situation. And at that time, when generally, see for all of us, by Kala, I'm talking about not just the astrological Kala. I'm not just talking about the chronological time. It is that don't correct people at 6 o'clock in the evening, correct them at 7 o'clock. It is not like that. That Kala means that the how what is the phase they are going through. For all of us, life has ups and downs. Kabhi khushi, kabhi gum. So that's just a fact of life. Many times, what happens is that when life goes up or life goes down, we may also go way up with life and way down with life. This is where our own moodiness to some extent comes in. Now, if somebody is very elated, say somebody has just passed a very difficult exam and they are very in a very happy mood. And that time they just come to us, oh, I won this exam. But you forgot to do that. I told you to do that. You are so irresponsible. That becomes like a mood spoiler. Because, okay, what is that person going through? Oh, the sound system is a mood spoiler. Was my voice echoing? You're not able to hear me clearly?
Yeah, it's little echoing.
So, if I speak like this, can you hear? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is it better now? Thank you. So generally, when I think slightly louder, can all of you hear that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So generally, when it is that people are in emotional extremes, so it is best not to agitate them further. So if somebody is already very discouraged, if something bad has happened in their life, they lost a job or something like that happened, and at that time we give them some feedback. Now maybe that is a good time for them to learn. Maybe you were not responsible, you did not learn the skills, you are just wasting your time. That is something important to do. But maybe not immediately. When they're still reeling from the shock of having lost a job, at that time, telling them something further will only agitate them. So maybe, they come to terms with it, and then afterwards people start thinking, what happened? Why did this happen? Did I do something wrong? And they may be a little more receptive. So generally in this call, what we should not do is when people are in their emotional extremes. When people are in emotional extremes, that is a time they will not be particularly receptive. They will it will backfire. The intended result will not come. So, relatively speaking, when people are calm, now you may say some people they are never calm. Like being angry is the default state of somebody. Being irritable, being bitter, okay, maybe. But even within that there are phases. So generally, feedback needs to be given at the appropriate time. So generally, if they are calm and they are themselves in a reflective. See, we are all in different moods at different times. Say, if we are rushing to catch a train and somebody starts giving us to catch a plane or a train, and then somebody starts giving a lecture about how you have this quality, right, and this quality. You have to back and go, right, let me go, isn't it? So there are sometimes moods when we are active mood, sometimes they are more reflective mood. So feedback when it is given in a time at a call that is appropriate, then it doesn't backfire. People at least they are more receptive. They can contemplate on it. There's no guarantee that they will accept it, but at least they will contemplate. The third is what is Desha Kala and Patra. So Patra means candidate. So literally Patra means the utensil which is receiving something. Like Diksha Patra is there or utensil. So like that people's consciousness is the Patra. That it is they are receiving what we are saying in their consciousness. So now with respect to the Patra, basically there has to be some level of closeness between the two people. Generally, if there is some respect, if there is, if that person doesn't care for us at all, doesn't know us, doesn't care for us, if there is no relationship, then say if you're just walking around the road and some person comes and says, you are such a fool, you are such a cheater, you are such an exploiter. What happened? You don't even know me, I don't know you. Why is people like this? If there's no relationship, then in this situation, when the feedback is given, it doesn't have meaning. There has to be a certain level of, at a basic level, there needs to be some respect and some trust. So, respect, and this person knows something. This person is an expert in this field, or at least knows something of value in this field. And trust is that this person is my well-wisher. This person wants the good for me. So when these two are there, respect and trust. Now, of course, if love is there, that's even better. But sometimes even respect is not, let's say a doctor tells us something, to stop eating this food. But I love eating that particular food. Do you love that food or do you love your life more? I love my life. So what happens over there? There, it is not that how many people say, I love my doctor. Well, no, we don't love our doctor. But we trust our doctor. If we have been the doctor for a good amount of time, we respect and trust. Then if there is no relationship, then often what is said is neglected or rejected. Neglected or rejected. On the other hand, if there is respect and trust, then it's often accepted. So all the Deshakala Patra, I am talking about the regulation from our side. When we speak, Amudvega Karamba. Each of these, if we do not consider Deshakala Patra, then even if our words are true, even if our words are well intentioned, still they will backfire. Still they will not have the desired. So then it is because why don't people listen to me? Well, it is possible that in spite of doing all these three things, also people may not listen to us. Because there are people who are set in their own ways. But we can at least try to do our best part. This is considering Desha Kala Patra. And now let's try to move forward and look at this, that what is happening here. Krishna is speaking this to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So on the battle itself, we consider, if we watch some Ramayana battle, Mahabharata battle, some TV series, it can all seem dramatic, exciting. And yes, actually, those who are fighting the war is nothing, not nothing exciting or romantic. War is actually hell. People are dying and people are being killed and people are brutally in pain. So at that time, it's a high pressure situation. It's a high pressure situation. So sometimes people may speak things because of the pressure of the situation. And we shouldn't take that too seriously. So I will move now to the other side. Like I talked till now about the regulator. That is, when we are speaking, we should try to speak as sensitively as possible, considering time, place, circumstance. But now let us go to the other side. And here also, there has to be a protector. So protector means that when people speak, we should also consider when somebody is speaking, what is happening over there? What are they going through? How could you speak like this to me? How could you use such a word about me? How could you do something like this? So it's possible. So on one side, this regulator is about discipline. Discipline in speech. And this regulator, this protector is about tolerance. So all of us have certain tendencies that we all have our weak moments. And despite knowing everything, we still speak harsh. And what applies to us also applies to others. When I was growing up, I had a bit of a temper. Can you turn this off? This is a little off. So when I was growing up, I would have a little bit of a temper. Is it okay if it's too hot for you? So when I was, since my childhood, I had a lot of interest in words. One of my hobbies was to pick up a dictionary and memorize words. So I developed quite a good vocabulary. And having good vocabulary is normally a good thing. But I soon discovered that a good vocabulary and a bad temper is a deadly thing. Because when most people get angry, they just go off on a rant. What they speak does not make any sense. And then we will still be disturbed why this person is speaking like this. But if that person is not speaking any sense, then we just turn off, just tune off. But somebody who has a good vocabulary, they can become very sarcastic and biting and cutting. So I realized that I was actually hurting a lot of people. So many of my friends and co-students, they keep a distance from me. I was otherwise quite a nice person. Actually, I thought I was a nice person. Everybody thinks I'm a nice person. But I was good at studies. I would help other students in studies. So there was but still, many of my friends will keep a little bit of a distance from me. But there was a couple of friends, they said that they were very close to me. And sometimes I would get angry with them also and would speak something. But they seem to be unaffected. So one day I asked them, so what happens? Is it that I sometimes get angry and irritate you, but you're still being such close friends with me. So how do you deal with it? This is so both of them said we talked about it. And my name is growing up was Chandrahas and became Chaitanya. He said that he said that we have understood that there are two Chandrahas. Chandrahas 1 and Chandrahas 2. Chandrahas was a nice person, Chandrahas is an unbearable person. And Chandrahas too sometimes comes up. So when he comes up, we just neglect it. We just don't pay attention to what he's saying. Really? I didn't know what to think about it that time. From an intellectual perspective, I thought it's a very creative idea. But from a personal perspective, I said there is a part of me which is so terrible that people have to completely neglect it. Slowly, I tried to get a more of a handle on my temper. And then, when I started practicing bhakti, then the temper became much more manageable. But the point is that this idea that when others speak, especially when others speak words that are hurtful, how seriously should we take it or should we not take it? So again, it is how do we protect ourselves when others seem to have their filter off? Others are speaking things that are hurtful. So there also the same three factors. Desha, Kala, Patra. So the speaker should be considering what is the time place candidate. Similarly, the listener should also be considering the time place candidate. Let's try to understand this one. Desha means
This is for known people, right? We are discussing about known people. If, like we are speaking on completely unknown people.
well, it depends. In the age of social media nowadays, completely unknown people can also comment about us. Unknown people can. Everybody has a opinion, and everybody has social media as their microphone, or their amplifier. So, in general, we need to consider this for everyone. Especially, but the point is, it applies much more for people close to us. Because in general, it is people who are close to us whose words affect us much more. Was there any particular reason you asked?
I just asked like, how we get to know if the speaker is using regulator and not regulator. Suppose I am serious.
No, it's just that if somebody is speaking in a very hurtful way, if somebody is speaking in a way that is not cultured, somebody is speaking in a way that is not socially acceptable, that's this is not the way we speak here. So whether we are conscious of it or not, we all moderate and modulate our speech accordingly. Some people may use swear words, they may use obscene language. But if they come to a more cultured society, when they come to spiritual gathering, they will not. Other time they may use that language, but they won't use that language. If somebody comes to workplace, normally some workplaces are more informal, some workplaces are more formal. So we try to, in English, this saying, read the room. Read the room means understand what people are, what people expect from you, what kind of people are here. Understand what is the emotional tenor here. So generally we manage, we have a sense by which we manage our speech accordingly. And like say, all of you are sitting here quite close to each other. Now, every one of you is quite confident that the person sitting next to you is not going to turn on you and slap you with the fist. Is that possible? Don't get any ideas. But we understand that if somebody is coming for a spiritual talk like this, even if you don't know them personally, we understand that they're most likely going to have a basic level of impulse control. They're going to have a basic sense of decorum of how to behave. So we all monitor accordingly, regulate. So let's consider a Desha Kala Patra. So Desha means that what is the place? That's simple to understand. But how does it apply that if somebody is doing something, is somebody in a foreign territory, somebody is in an unfamiliar area. Like if we are working, if somebody is good at cooking, but they are cooking a new item, and then you want to cook it well, but it's they really want to cook it, but it's not coming out. Then what is happening is physically they are at home, but mentally they are in a foreign territory. Why is this not working? So if we are learning a new program or we are learning some new AI feature, which is not getting it, then we are at Desha. Desha does not have to be completely a place. It's the place where we are not physically, but it can also the place we are mentally. Hmm. So in fact, English also uses this phrase that we might say that he's not in a good place right now, or she's not in a good place right now. Maybe they've suffered some loss, they've had some grief. So the place we are mentally also affects now Kala. Kala could mean that if somebody had a hard day at work and then they come back home and they get irritated with the family. Now it's not a good thing to do, but if we know that they are going through a difficult phase in their workplace and their high stakes project and things may go wrong and so a lot could be lost. So in those times if somebody snaps, it's understood. Or like some people, at least in the West it is there. Now India also is that it's a psychology. Some people are not, they say, I'm not a morning person. What does it mean? In the morning, they're mourning. So what happens is some people in the morning, normally we will say morning is a fish time, it is Brahma Muhurta, get up and be cheerful. But some people, when they wake up in the morning, they're not in a pleasant mood. So, so what happens is, unless they get some stimulating drink or they do something, after that their mood comes. So then we come to know that in some kala, some people have a particular tendency, so don't take it too seriously. And then patra. Patra means that some people are loud-mouthed. By nature, whenever they speak very loudly. That's just the nature. Some people, on the other hand, will be soft. Some people, when they speak, we feel as if the eyes have lids, maybe ears should also have lids. You know, speaking so loudly. Some people, they're speaking. It's okay. You have to leave or you have to struggle to hear. People have their own natures. And some people are sometimes a little more irritable. Some people are a little more robust. Some people are a little more phlegmatic or stoic. There's different ways of describing. So if we know that some people are a little irritable, then if they snap off, take it very seriously. It's just sometimes this person does like that. So considering Desha Kala Patra is important to protect ourselves. So on one side, we take seriously the words that come from our mouth and make sure that inappropriate words don't come out. But on the other hand, the words that are coming from others' mouth, we need to know when to take them seriously and when to brush them off. So let's take two examples of words that were spoken, or at least the context was very provocative. But the result was very different. So the first example is from the Mahabharata. The second is from the Ramayana. Mahabharata is Draupadi and Duryodhana. When Draupadi, when Duryodhana came for the Rajasuya Yajna from Hastinapur to Indraprastha, he was already burning with envy. He had schemed and had manipulated his father so that Pandavas would be just given some wilderness, an overgrown forest. And the Pandavas had made a flourishing kingdom over there. In fact, a kingdom that was more flourishing than his own kingdom. And now they were doing the Rajvi earlier, which is you're not just the king, you're the emperor. So he was already very envious. And on top of that, after that, uh, what happened is that he started took up the service of receiving gifts on behalf of the Pandavas. But the Pandavas always wanted Duryodhana to feel included. And Duryodhana said, "No, you are the other. No, we are the same family. You can share in our success." So when Duryodhana took the service of receiving gifts, the Pandavas wanted to make him feel you are our family members. These are the gifts which are coming through. You are taking them. We are a part of all of us only. But he did not take it that. He said, why are the Pandavas being respected so much? Why are the Pandavas getting such great gifts like this? So he's thinking further. He had built magnificent palaces, but the Maya Sabha was just in a league of its own. That also further triggered his interest. What was worst was, in this context, that he decided to stay on. Everybody left from the Rajya. He said, I want to look at the Maya Sabha a little bit more. I want to examine it carefully. Now, what is that to examine? Everybody had been given a guided tour when they had come as guests for the ceremony. And now, everybody went back. If somebody is an alcoholic and they're trying to recover from alcoholism, and they have a corporate party, a corporate dinner in a bar. Now people are obligated to go there, but after everybody leaves after the party, they say, okay, I want to stay here and examine the bar. And you are not going to examine the bar is going to entangle you. So this is exactly what happened. The more Duryodhana saw the Maya Sabha, the more he became envious. And then we know he slipped and fell. Because he thought there's no water over there, there's actually water. So he slipped and fell, but there are different narratives given. The popular narrative is actually quite provocative and it is not true. That is, the commonly it is shown that Draupadi, she laughed at Duryodhana and she said, Andhe ka beta andha. The son of a blind person is blind. Now, if we look at the Mahabharata is a very large book, but in this statement is not there in the Mahabharata. And not only is it not there in the Mahabharata, see, it is not at all in sync with the character of Draupadi. Draupadi is not like Sita. Sita is much more submissive. Draupadi is much more assertive. But assertive means she may even get angry at times. She is not afraid to speak her mind. But there's a difference between being assertive and being mean. So, such a statement is just a mean statement. That is not the kind of statement that Draupadi will ever make. So, neither is the statement there nor is it in character. But still, she laughed. Now, when they say if somebody slips and falls, should we laugh at that person? Well, it's not really the right thing to do, it's not a cultural thing to do. If somebody slips and falls, we express concern. We ask them, are you injured? Can I do something for you? So, now, why did Draupadi laugh? At one level, we could say it's a mistake. At another level, it is also going to look at the context. See, Duryodhana was the person who Draupadi knew. Mother told her. And this was the person who had tried to kill her husband. The person who had tried to kill Bhima, then he tried to kill all the five Pandavas. This was a person because of whom Draupadi was a princess, had to live for some time in a place like a forest till the Maya Sabha came up. This was the person who had made it his life's mission to torture. Now, in spite of that, the Pandavas had been gracious enough not only to invite him and host him, but host him far extra. What is that saying that guests are like fish? After 3 days, they start stinking. Like you don't want a guest is welcome when they come, but if a guest is too long, they say you're overstaying, you're welcome. So Duryodhana had already long overstayed his welcome. And on top of that, he was also being irritable because he was being so envious. So he would snap at the attendants, he would snap at the servants, and also he was putting on airs. Putting on airs means he was actually very impressed by what he saw, but he was acting very unimpressed, trying to act unimpressed. So if somebody is not very clever, but they act as if they are very clever, then what happens? Uh, um, if we know this person is just putting on a pretense, then when they are exposed, then what happens in that? See, nowadays with AI available, anybody can, if you have to write something, anybody can be like an expert writer. Nowadays in America and probably in India also, in the past, the students were like asked to write essays. And they are looking for a particular from Ivy League college or something like that. That okay, why do you want to come to this college? What do you aspire in your life? What drives you, inspires you in your life? So now the essays have become more or less redundant because anybody can write a good essay. Because they are not writing it, AI is writing it. So then what happens is, if generally after the essay is written, then there's the oral interview. And then if there's a huge difference, the essay seems like you're a PhD level scholar in this field. And when you speak, you're in kindergarten. You know anything about your subject at all? It can be like that. So if somebody is pretending to be very scholarly and they are actually good, and then some question is asked, which exposes their ignorance, then people will laugh. Now, that may not be the good thing to do, but it's an understandable thing to do. It's an understandable thing to do. But what happened was, Duryodhan was not at all understanding. So, we could say from the Pandava's side, the regulator was a bit off. He didn't speak anything, but he just laughed. And that laugh provoked. But from his side, from Duryodhan's side, there was no protest. And then what happened? Just went back from there. They humiliated me. I am going to humiliate you. And then he came up with Shakuni gave him the idea and came with the whole plot of the gambling match, in which for the icing on the cake, which is actually a poisonous icing, that was the dishonoring of Draupadi. Now, if you consider, there's a huge difference. If you consider Draupadi, all that she did was laugh. But what did Duryodhan do? Duryodhan tried to violate her and publicly dishonored by slogan. There is no sense of proportion in this. So, and it was not that Draupadi deliberately spilled water in his path so that he will fall and she can laugh. No, he was largely circumstantial. It was just that the way circumstances work, he laughed. People say it was not the right thing, but it was not a big thing. But unfortunately, we made it a big thing. And so in any relationship, some things can be excused, but everybody has their boundaries. That if you go beyond those boundaries, then it becomes very difficult to repair the relationship. So when the Kauravas tried to slow Draupadi, that was the point of the battle. Now, it is to the credit of the Pandavas that even after that, after 13 years, they tried for peace. But it's like what Draupadi's action was a tiny thing. And what Duryodhan's action in return was a huge thing. It was totally disproportionate. So what could have been done over here? From Draupadi's side, you could say that maybe that laughing was not a good thing to do. Be careful that you don't want to offend people. But from Duryodhana's side, is there no sense of perspective? Is there no understanding of context? Context, the more sophisticated word or equivalent word for time, place, circumstance. So if somebody has acted in a way that is improper, say some VIP guest comes to a person's house and they stay in that person's house and they're bitten by a mosquito. And they go back and say, maybe that is the president of the country who comes and stays in somebody's house. Very powerful. In their house, I got a mosquito bite, bomb that person's house and destroy their house. A mosquito bite is a circumstantial. There's no sense in that. That was how it was. Draupadi's laugh was like a guest getting a mosquito bite. And in return, what the guest says? Bomb the house. So there is absolutely no proportion. So now let's, this is the last story I conclude with this. Let's look at the Ramayana. And here the story is of Sita and Lakshmana. Now what happened was that when Ravan made this whole conspiracy to abduct Sita, so at that time he arranged for Maricha to come, and Maricha came in a very attractive, captivating form of a deer. And Sita said, "Oh Ram, can you see this deer? So attractive. Can you get this deer as a pet for me? We can have it for us for some time. And then when we go back home, we can use this as a memento of our forest stay to Mother Govinda." And now Lakshmana is suspicious. Yes. And in later sense, there's a saying, something is too good to be true. So he said, this is such an attractive deer that is something off with it. It's probably not a deer. It's a demon in a deer's car. So Sita said, Lakshmana, you are suspicious. Ram, can you get this deer for me? And Ram thought that Sita sacrificed so much for me. She's a princess, but she's leaving the forest for my sake. If she's asking for something, let me get it for her. So then Lord Ram went. And then he went. And Manisha took him a long distance away. And then, when finally Ram realized the Ram's plan was not to kill the deer, but to capture the deer and have it as a pet. But when the deer kept running and kept disappearing and appearing, at one point Ram would be right next to the deer and suddenly the deer would just leap into the air and disappear. So at that time, I decided that I'm going to kill this deer. So we shot an arrow and the deer was struck by the arrow. The deer then spoke in the voice of Ram. He says, "Hey Lakshman, hey Sita!" He called out. And it was a long distance. I was in America and I tell you the story. And one boy asked a question. When he said, Marija called out, "Hey Lakshman, hey Sita." Why did Ram call out? That's not me, that's Marija speaking. The whole problem could have been avoided. So I explained that this is Lord Ram is God, but that's how I was using the word Ram, not Lord Ram, because in the Leela, in the Valmiki Ramayana, the focus is not on Ram's divinity. In later retellings, like the Tulsi Ramayana, Kamba Ramayana, the focus on his divinity much more. The point is, Lord Ram or Ram is playing in Naralila. Naralila means he's playing the role of a human being. And generally he acts within human limitations. Although he's not limited by a human being, because he's God, but he acts within the limits of a human being. And that's why when he uses some astras, it is the astra that Agastya has given him. It is the chariot that Indra has given him. All this belongs to him, but he doesn't just grab it. He doesn't say, I'm God, I can take what I want. So, in the cosmic hierarchy, while the humans are more powerful, humans are morally above the asuras. The devas are here, Manavas are here, the asuras are here. In terms of morality. in terms of punya. But in terms of power, the devatas and asuras both are above the manavas. And the manavas are below. So Maricha was an asura. And that's why physically he was much more powerful. And that's why his voice reached much further. Ram, as playing a Manav Leela, his voice would not reach that far. So then Lord Ram started running back. And here when Sita heard about this, he said, Lakshman, why are you not going? So Lakshman was completely undisturbed. He says, that's not Ram. That's not Ram. It's probably the same demon imitating Ram's voice. And what had happened for Sita, if you consider her emotions, we consider the Ishkal Bhagavad. There was initially there was a desire that okay, let us have this beer. But then there was a bit of fear, there was a bit of anxiety. He thought that Ram will just run out and catch the beer. But Ram had gone for a long time. What has happened? What's gone wrong? Suppose we tell someone to get something from the shop. And then we know that a storm is going to come in about an hour. But the shop is just 5 minutes, so you just go and come back in 10 minutes. And then they are gone for half an hour, they are gone for 45 minutes, they are gone for 1 hour. So what happens is this fear, this anxiety. And then, on top of that, there was guilt. And actually, it is because of my desire that I send that person into trouble. Because of my desire, that person got into trouble. And then, so that when she actually heard Ram's voice, and now sometimes what happens is, males and females communicate slightly differently. See, women are more concerned with emotions, and that's nature's gift. Because women have to take care of small babies, and small babies, they can't speak. So mothers have to be very sensitive to the emotions of the babies. So their emotional factor, emotional radar is very high. And that is good. Men are more fixers, they are doers. So what happened? Lakshmana and Ram, they're all divine characters, but then Manav Leela. So Lakshmana was focused on the task. Lakshmana knew that Ram had told him to guard Sita while he's away. And he already felt suspicious that there is some conspiracy over here. So he wanted to be on guard. Suddenly some demon pounces on him, and a group of demons come. So he just very nonchalantly told Sita that it's not Ram. That's a demon imitating Ram's voice. Now Sita felt a little angry. You think I can't recognize my husband's voice? You think that you can recognize my husband's voice better than what I can? And then sometimes what happens is one person is agitated and they express that they are agitated to somebody else. But the other person, they want to calm them down and the other person stays calm. And they will, it's no big deal. But what happens, the effect is the exact opposite. First we are agitated about what has happened and then we are agitated that the other person is not taking us seriously. Isn't it? So we are agitated because the other person is not agitated. This is a big problem. It's no problem. What do you mean it's no problem? It's a big problem. So now Lakshman didn't want to intentionally not take Sita's concern seriously. Lakshman had a more pressing concern, was to watch out for demons. So that guilt, a little bit of anger came. And along with that, there was a bit of helplessness. Because she was thinking that if Ram is in danger, I can't do anything to help him. But the person who can do something to help him is not going to help him because of me. So that was even more frustrating for her. And then somehow she was trying to push it out and Lakshmi, go. And then in trying to push Lakshmi, she spoke something. She said, I know why you are not going to help your brother. You have always had an evil eye on me. You want me for yourself. And you want Ram to die so that you can have it for yourself. But I tell you, your evil desire will never be fulfilled. I would rather die than be touched by you. Now, these words were unbelievable to actually. Lakshman always been respectful and very faithful to his brother. And Sita was the mother for him. So he felt extremely brave. And sometimes when people speak some words, how can you think like that about me? Lakshman could have said, I have my wife, I have my family, I left her to be with you. I'm thinking like this. So Lakshman said, like Sita, you don't know what you are speaking. What you are speaking is unbelievable for me. Therefore, I am going. I pray. I fear that when I come back, you will not be here. Yes, I cannot be here. Now, when Lakshman went running in search of Sita for Ram, and Ram was running back searching, and they both saw each other. Now, when Lakshman saw Ram, Lakshman was pacified. Ram is safe. But when Ram saw Lakshman, Ram got agitated. Why are you here? Why are you not with Sita? And then both of them started running back towards the hermitage where the cottage where they were staying. And then Lakshman didn't even know how to tell Ram what words were spoken to her. While Lakshman told. And then Lakshman experienced what Sita had experienced. Lakshman said, these words, he wanted to say, these words are so hurtful. Ram said, she's just a woman, she was carried away by emotions. Why do you take those emotions so seriously? So, this is a serious accusation. No, it's not a serious accusation. Why do you take it so seriously? But anyway, the point is that if we consider the case of Sita and Lakshman, from one perspective, Sita's action was much more hurtful than Draupadi's action. Draupadi just laughed, but Sita accused. And it was a direct and terrible accusation. And Lakshman was affected by it. But when they came back, and they found Sita is no longer there, Lakshman didn't say, sirs are right. She spoke like that, really? This is what should have happened. He said that. He is. He felt pain by it. Protecting her is much more important. And it is not that finally when they met after the war got over, Lakshman didn't say, okay, isn't there something you have to speak to me? When I have to apologize for what you spoke to me? Let the past stay in the past. So, although circumstantially Lakshman was affected, he knew that Sita did not mean him by that. Those words were hurtful, no doubt. But sometimes when people speak words under the pressure of the moment, it is not that we have to keep living them in our mind for the rest of life. We do that, it's so long. So, I was in America staying at a devotee's home. And many young people, when they go to America and they settle over there, they often have a sense of concern, even guilt that their parents are in India and they're not there to take care of their parents. So this devotee had brought his father, he didn't have a mother, he brought his father to stay with him in America. And so he told me that somehow my father seems to be very cold with him. So I also noticed that in their evenings. But then when I was talking with his father, we both, he had a lot of interest in English literature. I also had a lot of interest in it. So I was talking about Charles Dickens and Shakespeare and other things. So we wanted to read. And then he started speaking. He said that when my wife had passed away, when his wife had passed away, so after that, this devotee, he was giving his 10th exam at that time. He was in 10th. And then he told me, please wake me up. He's studying. So he told me, please wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then I noticed that he said that I remember that he slept almost 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. So I woke up at 4, but he didn't wake up. I woke up once more, he didn't wake up. And I thought that he slept so late, better let him sleep. If he's not fresh, he'll not be able to answer the question. And finally, he woke up at 7 o'clock. And when he woke up at 7 o'clock, he was so angry. And he said the words he spoke, I'm not even forgetting it. He said, it would have been better that instead of my mother dying, you would have died. So you see, that whenever I see my son, those words are the first thing that come in my mind. So I told him, did you tell him this? He said, no, he's already spoken those words. I told him, son cares for you. I told him that I travel across the world. And all children would want to take care of their parents, but very few children actually take the step to get their children to go to America. Not only is it legally difficult, but even practically, America, you can't afford paid help. America, the minimum wage and also, it's everything, all the housework you do yourself. So it's very difficult. The parent is when it's brought to here, it shows that it cares for you. So he said that, yeah, but I just can't do this. I told him, can I tell this to you? So he said, okay. So then I told him, he was aghast. He said, I can't believe I spoke this. He says, what I remember is that after my mother passed away, my father was so sad. And I thought such a terrible thing had happened in our family. If I study well and I get good marks, then that is at least one thing which will make my father happy. So that's why I was studying very much. And that's why I wanted to wake up early and I was studying to the exam. And I was angry and agitated because I thought that if I don't get good marks, that will be another reason for my father to be happy. So he said, I don't even know this time was such a mental blur for me, I don't even remember. So then he went to his father and told the feet of his father and he apologized. And his father embraced him. And then that coldness that was there between them, it ended. So here, so the son has spoken like that, certainly not. But if we consider the context, he did not mean it at all. In fact, his anger was out of his desire to please his father. It was not out of any disrespect for the father or any ways to devalue the father. So, there are times when we should brush off other people's words. We don't take those words seriously. So, one side, Anudviga Karam Vakya. Don't speak words that are agitating. Other is, don't get agitated by words. Especially if those words are out of character with how that person normally is. That person is normally good and polite and helpful. And one time they speak something, then don't hold it anymore. This is what is actually really in your heart. All that remaining time, all that you are acting was just a show. No, it's not like that. This is just something. There are anathas inside our heart, there are demons. Sometimes those demons pop up and speak. So, like my friend said, the Chandras and Chandras too. Whether there are demons inside us, those demons sometimes pop up. So, if something like that is spoken, don't take it too seriously. In that way, that is one understanding of being detached, being unaffected. So, as a rock. So that way, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that in 12.15 he says that don't agitate others, don't disturb others, and don't be disturbed by others. And Krishna says such a devotee is very dear to me. Yasman no dvijate loko, loka no dvijate chaya, harsham harshamayo vegam, mukto yah sacha ve priya. That one who does not agitate others and one who is not agitated by others is very dear to me. So what our bhakti should actually do is, our bhakti should provide us a regulator. On one side, our bhakti provides us a regulator. That means The more we practice bhakti, the more we chant Krishna's name, more we recite shlokas, our tongue will become purified and we will be less prone to temper explosions. At the same time, our bhakti can also act as a protector. So, if somebody else speaks something hurtful to us, the more we practice bhakti, the more we will find that, okay, people's words don't hurt us so much. Yeah, sometimes people speak like that, don't take it too seriously. So, don't see intention. Don't see intention in what is spoken in intention. Don't see intention in what is spoken in intention. Intention, we always keep things which we do not mean. So don't take it so seriously. Forget everything from this class, just remember this one statement. Can you repeat after this? Can you repeat after me? Don't see intention in what is spoken in intention. So, I'll summarize what I discussed with you. Broadly, we discussed regulation of speech, like how to tap the power of speech, how to deal with the effect of speech. So words, our speech is like power. Speech is power. It is like a electric power. So when there is a source and there is a device. So there is a speaker and there is a listener. Just as in a device, there has to be on the other side, on the one side here we have to have a protector, here we need to have a regulator, here we have a so this way the surges of the power that may come up, sometimes they cannot be controlled. Even if the surges come up, we don't take it so seriously. We don't let ourselves be affected by it. So then we discussed the class in two main parts. First was the regulator. That for us, when we are speaking, that when words are coming out from us, it's a regulator that we should have. That regulator is basically to consider Desha Kala Patra. So we discussed Desha is that, for example, don't criticize people in public. Don't give feedback in public, give it in private. And Kala is when people are in their moods, extreme mood don't feel, when they are really calm and reflective, that's when speak. And Patra is there's no relationship, if we are not invested in the person, then we can't really speak in backfire. There has to be respect and trust. Respect is this person knows, and this person trusts, this person cares, this person wants my good. And then lastly, discuss about how we can have the protector. So the part I spend more time on. For us, when we will speak harsh words, that's something which we have to avoid. But we may also be the recipient of harsh words. That's when we need the protector. And in this protector also we discuss Desha Kala Patra. Consider the Desha is the mental place of the person. What is the mental state of the person? The time is, the Kala is basically that maybe they are under some stress, they have a particular nature. So, and then Patra is, some people are themselves naturally loud mouthed, some people are soft spoken. So consider that some people's words, they may be harsh, but they actually kind hearted. So look at that also. And then we discussed two stories. The story of Draupadi and Duryodhana. So yes, from the Draupadi side, something wrong happened, but it's just a laugh. And as per the law, he wanted to completely dishonor and violate her. It was totally disproportionate. So we could say the lapse from the regulator on Draupadi's side was very minor. The lapse from the protector side in Duryodhana was not there at all. On the other hand, we discussed Sita and Lakshmana. So in the case of Sita, what she she was accused. That accusation itself was an insult. But Lakshman, there was no lasting negativity. That time he was hurt, but there was no lasting. The difference was here the protector was very low. Here the protector was little high. So for all of us, we can try to raise our protector. And the key was don't see intention. Don't see intention is what is spoken intention. So all of us are fallible human beings, and all of us will have bad days. In those bad days, we can hope and pray that we are not judged by our worst days, and that we don't judge others by their worst days. That's the meaning of "Do yasman no dujate loko, lokan no dujate chitra." Such a person, Krishna says, will become very dear to you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Is there any question or comment?
So, now that we are discussing about speakers and listeners, I have this question that in workplace area, especially, we have people, especially the boss. Like I work in a school, so I have to report to the principal. So she has got a position there. But so happens that we, as assistant teachers, we cannot cross some limits when it comes to communicate something. And as a speaker, I may be in a position to reply in a way which is very straight, but I would want to avoid it because she has got a position and should definitely take it in a different way. So how do we deal with that scenario where we do not want them to misinterpret us or have perception, but we also want to convey that whatever we have done is right and that we are maybe truthful and they have perceived us in a very wrong manner. That is my first question.
See, generally, workplaces or just in our environment, if you see workplaces can either be very hierarchical and vertical, or they can be more egalitarian and more horizontal. So, in general, in the West and Western work environments and Western family structures, everything is much more horizontal. So, in India, things are much more hierarchical. It's not just India, we can see a lot in the East. China is also like that, Japan is also like that. The West is much more horizontal. So now all of us have to act according to the environment we are in. We can't immediately change the environment. Unlike the environment changes with time. So I would say in India, the software field, things are much more horizontal. I was talking with one devotee who works in Salesforce, and this Mataji, she is always in a position. They said that there they have created a system by which every year not only does the boss evaluate the employees, but the employees evaluate the boss. And so one of the things is that they ask, like every team is there, the team leader is there, and the team members are there. So the team members are asked the question, many question about their boss. And one question they say is, have you seen does your boss do politics in the team management? And if the team members say yes, that is considered like a very negative mark for the boss. Now, many times people don't even people may use the word politics. What does it mean? And afterwards they ask them, They just don't know what they're saying actually. So, oh, boss, give this raise because he's partial to this one. No, because that person has some experience, that person has some competence, that's what they do. Basically, the point is that this can actually, so this author is telling me that actually in that company now, I won't say necessarily that level, but in many companies, actually the boss is more insecure than the what is. Because what kind of feedback will I get? Like in America, there are faculties. Every faculty, like the students have to do a course. That is okay, which elective can choose. So every professor has a student rating below that. On their website only publicly it is there something. So it's not a very pleasant thing. So the teachers are very afraid to chastise the students. Even the students need to be chastised. So yeah, it can become too horizontal or it can become too vertical. And both have their problems. So in general, uh, we have to work within the environment that we have. So we may talk with our some other colleagues who have been around for a longer time and see if they have faced some situation like that, how they deal with that. So and we may also in a respectful tone, uh, maybe privately ask them for a meeting and give some input, a small thing, and see how they take it. And if they accept it, then we can give something more. Like when we want to take a dip in the river, we may first put our toe and see how cold it is. So like that. So it has to be often very incremental. It can be done, but it has to be done very gently. So I would say that just because somebody is in a authority figure does not necessarily mean that they will never take feedback. It does not necessarily mean that. But it is difficult for them to take it in a public setting. So generally, Eastern cultures are what they call as face-saving cultures. Face-saving means that a person's respect or respectful image should always be protected. So honor should be protected. That's why don't oppose them in public. Because then if they start seeing us as enemies, then whatever we tell them, they will not take it. So as long as we have the example Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated Keshakashini. Basically, he asked Keshakashini asked him some question. Mahaprabhu answered it spectacularly. Mahaprabhu asked some questions. He was Nimai Pandit at that time, and he could not answer. So when he could not answer, Nimai Pandit students started laughing, and he went, "Oh, wow, oh, wow." And he said that oh, Pandit, you are a great scholar and you have a long journey, and now you just composed 100 verses in this per minute. You will be exhausted. Go home, take rest, study your books, and tomorrow we'll continue this. So he did not rub it in his face because I have defeated you. He gave you a graceful exit. So we can sometimes protect a person's honor while also correcting their misconception. So how to do that? It has to be carefully thought out.
We, as you said, you give little input, like, see the response. We will make the relation, and with our good work, when we develop that trust, then they will listen more. So this is natural phenomenon.
Yeah. So if generally if they consider us trustworthy, then also it matters. So if we are competent in our work and then we can count on them, then we can take the input also. So the partner comes in over. Any other questions?
So one more. So generally, I also came across few people in my lives with family members as well as at workplace, where they only want to just talk and talk and do not want to listen to me or to others who are, especially again at they feel that like my elder sister or my elder brother-in-law, they feel we are big people. I mean, we are elders. We don't want to listen to you. You don't have to listen to us. That is the kind of thought or the mindset that they have. So they just want to smash off the whatever they want to say and not listen to the person. How do we deal with this kind of, especially in personal life? then they don't have an ear to listen and patience to listen.
So if we have elders who just speak to us but don't never listen to us, what do we do? Then Naradu, the seventh canto says that just nod your head and then do what you want to do. So he basically says that people will give you a lot of suggestions. He's talking in a different context. He says that people will give a lot of suggestions for economic development, but still spiritually serious minister should not get caught in all the ideas about earning money. But don't get caught in disagreeing with them, arguing with them. Because sometimes people are set in their ways. So just nod your head, be respectful, and then continue doing what you do. Because quite often, those people are not 24 by 7 around us. They are there, but they're not 24 by 7. They're not going to monitor everything. So, generally speaking, uh, there are some people who will not only speak, but they will demand whether we have done something or not. But most people who speak a lot, they speak so many things to so many people that they themselves also forget what I spoke. Isn't it? So if you just not okay, and just leave it. So sometimes it's that we the hierarchy comes in. So when I was introduced to Bhakti, that I thought I'd share it with everyone. So I started talking with my uncles, I started talking with my aunts, I started talking with my father. And nobody seemed to ready to listen. And then I asked a question to a senior sannyas. He said, how can I preach to my father? And he replied, by letting anyone except you preach to your father. So then, rather than I tried to speak philosophy to him, I invited him to come to the local temple. And then he connected people in the age group. He developed friendship with them. Some of them had a similar job like his. And then he became quite favorable, he became appreciative. So it was not, I was not the way for him. I was in the way for him. So I had to just move out of the way and he became connected. So sometimes if we have to speak something also, rather than speak to them, there's some other elder who can listen to them, with whom we can speak. Now of course they should not think we are gossiping about them to that person. That is what I'm carefully. But generally the bottom up feedback does not work in hierarchical societies. That's why it has to be like lateral. So if somebody is here and we are here, this kind of feedback just doesn't work. If somebody is at this level, this feedback often works. So in ISKCON also now we are trying to create something like an ombudsman in many places. Not always functioning with ombudsman, the idea is that if some devotees have some grievances in the management or in the leadership, then they may be a little apprehensive to speak directly to the leader. But there will be an ombudsman who can be like a safe person, they will preserve confidentiality. At the same time, give the feedback also. So it's not always working, but there are attempts in that direction. So thank you very much. Other books there? So much of what I spoke today. There's also one more calendar with 365 courses. So much of what I spoke today is given in this book, Gita for the CEO. This was published by HarperCollins. It's a national bestseller. Basically, nowadays there's a lot of interest in the corporate world to learn life lessons and leadership lessons from ancient texts. Ikigai from Japan has become quite popular, or Stoicism from Greece has become popular. So HarperCollins wanted me to write something based on the Bhagavad Gita. So here, like I was drawing an experience. There are some simple diagrams and concepts. I presented the Bhagavad Gita as a conversation between two people, two contemporary people. That one person, both in the corporate world, one who knows the Gita and one who wants to know the Gita. And how the Gita spiritually can help us not just go spiritually in life, but also practically in our day-to-day life and professional life. Arjuna was a great devotee. Arjuna was also a great archer. So this book is available. It's not just for CEOs. Ultimately, every one of us is going to be a CEO of our own life. So also, if we have some friends, colleagues who may not be ready to immediately connect with the Bhagavad Gita, they're not going to appreciate it. And this book can act as a bridge for them to begin their spiritual journey. So in this, there are how to be resilient, how to understand our own nature, how to there's one whole chapter on how to communicate effectively. So that's what most of what I spoke today is in this book. Words shape worlds, watch your words. So this is Gita Bhakti. Now, this is prayers inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. This is more for devotees. This has 122 prayers inspired. Each chapter has a different deity of Krishna. And I've taken the Gita verse, written in English poetry, with a one sentence summary. So, oh Lord, make me a spiritual fruit, not a religious nut. So like that, and there is a one sentence, one page prayer. And many devotees told me this will help them in their chanting. You just read one prayer before chanting and then after our prayers. This is the accessible table of contents with Gita verses and one sentence summary like a spiritual affirmation. There are prayers when we are feeling lonely or misunderstood, when we are feeling directionless and lost in our life, when we are feeling our desires very wild and uncontrollable, when we are feeling very far away from Krishna and spiritually dry. So you don't have to read the book page by page also. Whichever is your spiritual mood at that time you read, that you can read. And then this is inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. So each of these is inspired by one verse from the Bhagavad Gita. So for example, what I spoke, don't see intention and what is spoken intention. So mind your mind before you mind other people's mind. Those who can't Facebook, seek shelter in Facebook. So, so each of these is inspired by one verse. This is like a easy reflection to have. Many devotees are told to keep this in their office or in their guest in their lobby, and guests or colleagues they come, they read a quote and then they have no interest in the quote, and that way they can start a spiritual discussion with them also. So all these three books are available. I'll be here for some time if you want me to sign the books. And even I think the prayers might be in less in quantity, but if you want, you can place an order and we'll ship it from the right now. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Whoever wants.
Hare Krishna, Guru, thank you so much for wonderful explanation of the Vedic बहुत अच्छा लगा मुझे और actually हम सबके लिए बहुत अच्छा गाइडेंस देते हैं ऐसा करना चाहिए. Thank you so much and let us all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra for Prabhu ji in gratitude once loudly.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Grace Chaitanya Prabhu ki
Jai. Jai. Whoever wants these books, please contact me. It's 450 rupees. Maybe Narayana can help. Prabhuji will sign. Whoever wants.